You got a minute?
You must be part of my hangover.
And I hope the wax in your ears didn't stop you from hearing, pal.
I'll remember your face.
I'll try to forget yours.
What about the bartender?
I let him have it over the head with a peanut machine. Run along, darling, before I fracture your spine.
Is the gun loaded? You want to find out? No, I'm happy at just guessing.
You don't have to say anything and you don't have to do anything.
All right, Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up.
If you're the police, where are your badges?
I don't have to show you any stinking badges.
Welcome to the Speakeasy Noir Cast, a podcast discussing film noirs of yesterday and neo-noirs of today. Each week, we're going to deliver a discussion of our analysis of classic noir films, and occasionally we'll interview up-and-coming directors and writers of new neo-noir films, all mixed in with our unintelligible banter. Your hosts for the show, Jason D. Morris and Carly Street.
My goodness, Carly, here we are again. We're just going through these episodes rapid fire, right?
Yep.
It's awesome. So has anything significant been happening on your end of the end of your pond? No, you're on the other side of the world. That is the other side of the pond. That's what we call it, right? That's the terminology.
I guess so. You lost me a little bit when you started talking about ponds.
Yes, the ocean. There you go. Anything happening over there?
A bit different. No, I'm still feeding me fish.
Okay. I haven't even attempted that yet.
Yeah, don't. I got 41 more days to feed my fish to get 10p. I don't know if that's a good sign or like, oh God, this poor girl. It's never going to happen. Give her another 40 days. I don't know.
Wait, you sent me a request or something? I think I can help you. Okay.
Yeah, help me feed my fish, Jason. Jason, that went a bit weird. Jason sounded like Sean Connery then.
All right, I'm just now clicking on the link. Please join me. I already did that. Search Fishland. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and try to do this for you right now. See if it lets me give you some fish food. Open. Okay. Lucky draw. Fishland. All right, folks at home. I have now. Thanks for. Okay. What? Do I have to do this? Oh man, it's making me spin a wheel. Yay! I got a jackpot apparently.
Oh, that's a lie.
One free gift.
That's a lie.
Okay.
There's no jackpot.
I don't want to. How do I get out of that? No, I don't want this. Fishland. This is confusing. Okay, pick your first favorite now. What? I gotta pick a product?
Oh, because it's trying to make you feed fish. So you have to pick a product, and then that's what you're trying to get at the end of feeding the fish.
Okay. I don't know. I don't really want any of these.
I love that. They're free. They're still shit.
Wait. 2-pack 24-inch monitor something. Screen glares. Jeez.
Oh, there's a watch that's on a scrunchie. I don't know whether that would be any good to you if you want to be down with the kids because they all wear scrunchies. You can get a watch face that's a scrunchie, apparently.
I think it shows us different things because I don't see scrunchies.
Oh, maybe they don't know that you're a scrunchy person yet.
I'll pick this pet water fountain because I got lots of pets. Continue. Nice choice, it says.
It's obviously a lie.
Now it wants me to pick another one. I'm going to pick another water pet hydrator.
Wow. The excitement live on air with Jason Morris on Temu.
Can never have enough. Okay. All right. Let's see if that gets you some fish food.
I'm damn excited, thank. Well, I haven't done anything exciting. Clearly, have you done anything exciting?
No, I really haven't.
Oh.
I don't think. Oh, yeah, I've been messing around with AI a lot lately.
I could do with that too.
Yeah.
So, you know that film Noir that I've been telling you that I'm going to write for ages, and I just keep getting confused. Like the plot twist is so like twisty that it confuses me.
Yes.
So I can't even write it, right? And when I try and explain it, it just doesn't make sense.
Right.
I asked the AI thing to help me write it. My God, I've got a novel.
Oh, yeah, no kidding?
So technically, me and my AI friend, who I've nicknamed Rodney, we... well, I didn't want him to be faceless, you know. He's part of it.
Wait, did you tell him his name? Did you give him a name?
Yes.
And now he responds to Rodney?
I told him his name was Rodney, and I kept saying thank you very much for your help. And I've asked him to embellish certain things that he thinks would be helpful. God damn, he's good.
That's so good. I love it.
Yeah, so I keep asking him to just write extra pages, and I think technically when I said I hadn't done anything exciting, I may now have been a novelist. I don't know.
Hey, let's turn it into a book. Let's go from there.
Yeah, I thought, fuck the script, that's not happening. Let's see if Rodney can make a book.
That's hilarious. That's good. You know, everybody's afraid of AI right now, but I mean, in killing artists and things like that. But it's got to, you have to, this particular type of thing, I think, is extremely useful for pre-production and getting things going and bouncing ideas off of. So I'm super excited about it, you know. But I think that's
nice
really
having
cool.
somebody to talk to.
Right?
It's quite nice. Is that a good idea, Rodney? Yes, it's wonderful. Oh, cheers, mate.
They'll never piss you off, and they'll never get mad at you. And
No. He doesn't tell me that Haunted Hollywoods is silly and there's not enough information. He just makes stuff up for me. So
that's hilarious. All right. Well, I guess we might as well get into our drink for tonight. I hope this doesn't give away the movie before we actually talk about it. But tonight's drink is called Se7en Deadly Sin Sour. And speaking of AI, I actually asked ChatGPT to
you need
create...
to name him. You can't call him ChatGPT.
I guess I'll have to, because then, you know, I could just say I asked Rodney.
Exactly. No, Rodney's my dude. Find your own dude.
Right.
Ask Dennis.
Well, I asked it to create a drink based on tonight's movie, and it did an excellent job. It made a drink. It gave me the ingredients and how to make it, and I think it's amazing.
Wow. Did you say thank you?
I didn't.
You know, you're the reason why Rodney's going to get mad at humanity and kill us all.
That could be, yeah. My son is adamant. So it gives me full-on instructions and even a little presentation, right? So the instructions are dry shake. I don't know what that is, but dry shake. Start by adding the egg white to your shaker. This means you shake it without ice to get a frothy texture. Interesting. We haven't had one of those before. Add the rest. Pour in the rye whiskey, lemon juice, simple syrup, pomegranate juice, and the Angostura bitters. Shake Shake with ice. Fill the shaker with ice and shake until well chilled. Strain. Using a fine mesh strainer, strain the mixture into a rocks glass filled with ice. And finish. Sprinkle the black salt over the frothy top. It will not only add a visual effect, but a contrasting flavor profile. Very cool. Now it's presentation that it wants me to tell you all. Serve in a dimly lit setting with some classic noir jazz playing in the background. The red hue from the pomegranate juice will give the cocktail a sinister look, while the black salt can be seen as the tainted aspects of the film. Aspects of the life the film delves into. Pair the cocktail with your discussion on blank, because I'm not going to say the movie name, and let your audience immerse themselves in the ambience of the film careers. Jesus, I need to take a nap. Immerse themselves in the ambience of the film. Cheers. Not career.
Cheers, Dennis.
No, it's my fault. All right, so there you have it. That is the Se7en Deadly Sin Sour, and I think it actually sounds pretty good because I also like Bullet. But it did say if you want to elevate it to a more something or other whiskey, you could try Pig Rye, or Whistle Pig, which I've never had. Probably more pricey. However, that is the drink for tonight, and I hope you guys enjoy it. I hope you try it out. I'm curious if our Dennis pal is onto something here and gave us something good to drink. So as you try to make this concoction, check out the trailer for tonight's film.
Like what you do for a living? These things you see?
You have to wear blinders sometimes. Most times.
Detective William Somerset is looking for a way out.
You're retiring. 6 more days and you're all the way gone.
So how long have you lived here?
Too long.
Detective David Mills is looking for a way in.
We'll be spending every waking hour together from now until the time I leave. I'll show you who your friends and enemies are.
Look, I worked homicide 5 years. Not here.
Now,
Ladies and gentlemen, we have ourselves a homicide.
they're caught in a game.
No fingerprints and no witnesses of any kind.
Nope. About the only thing we know about that guy right now is he's totally insane.
Where the price of sin is death.
There are 7 deadly sins. Gluttony.
You're gonna come take a look at this?
Greed.
No one touches anything.
Sloth. Wrath. Pride. Lust. And envy. 7. You can expect 5 more of these.
Body was found on Tuesday morning.
I hate this city.
We're gonna get who did this.
This will be the very definition of swift justice.
There are 2 more bodies, 2 more victims.
This guy's methodical, exacting, and worst of all, patient.
He's laughing at us.
He had a gun.
He's 2 murders away from completing his masterpiece.
Let's finish it.
Brad Pitt, Morgan Freeman, Gwyneth Paltrow.
Have you ever seen anything like this?
No.
7.
All right, folks, that was the trailer for tonight's film, Se7en, a 1995 crime thriller directed by David Fincher and written by Andrew Kevin Walker. It stars Brad Pitt, Morgan Freeman, Gwyneth Paltrow, and John C. McGinley. However, before we get into our discussion of the film, we're going to let Carly chime in with her in a nutshell synopsis. And now it's time for Carly's super famous in a nutshell synopsis.
So I actually did 2 for this.
Oh, I love it when you do 2, actually.
So, well, at least one of them's going to be okay. So the first one is the adoring friend you never wanted and definitely didn't need in your life. And the second one is...
It's always funny when you do that because I'm like, is that the end of it? And that's
Basically, everything has Alec Baldwin dramatic pause. The second one is never open a freaky package from a smirking man in the middle of a desert.
Right.
Which I think is probably more accurate.
They both work well. And, you know, at this point, like, I think most people have seen Se7en. If you haven't, you need to check it out. It was one of those films that it sort of launched the darkness in media. I think the only thing that was as dark before it commercially might have been like Silence of the Lambs, which I think in terms of the dark aspects of the film and even the style of it, I think is a pale comparison. Not that it's less of a film or anything, but just the tone of it. Se7en really took that and launched it in the stratosphere, and a lot of copycats and followers and, you know, springboarded off of that. And it really created this sort of dark and gritty world that we don't even know where this movie takes place.
No,
you know?
Could be anywhere.
Right. And we don't even care because it's so well developed, like just tonally and, the look of it just, I mean, it could be New York, it could be LA, wherever it is. Even they shot it in LA, but you know, it's hard to tell where this takes place. And they never mention where it takes place. And that's just part of the charm of the movie. But, I really feel that, Se7en did sort of change the, I don't even know what you call it, like the culture of dark content in film and TV. I also think there were other things happening at the same time, such as like X-Files, which had a darker visual tone as well as story tone as well. And so those were sort of happening, and then Se7en comes along, and then of course Millennium comes along a year later. And it just really sort of took off from there.
Yeah, I see quite a lot of the X-Files in Se7en.
Oh yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
I mean, and even more so. I mean, it's no secret these days for anybody that remembers Millennium, but Chris Carter is more than a few times mentioned how Se7en was such a huge influence into what Millennium started out as.
Yeah, you can see the transition, can't you? Because you can see the X-Files in Se7en, kind of similar styles, and then you can see in Millennium that then times 20.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The dark tones of it. I mean, even with like Se7en, like there's more, I wouldn't say lightness to it, even though, I mean, they have very similar things, like the Gwyneth Paltrow character, the wife of Brad Pitt's character. Like she's sort of
the
like
only
the yellow
film she was ever good in.
That's what
I just say the only
agree.
film she was ever good in.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Like I for whatever reason, sorry if you guys are a fan of hers, but I for whatever reason, I just cannot stand her, except for in Se7en is the only time.
She just works in Se7en. She just naturally just everything. But she doesn't even have to try. She just visually just fits as well, which is weird.
Yeah, I agree with that. I particularly dislike her in the Iron Man stuff.
Oh, see, I don't actually mind her in that. I think that she's quite tolerable in that, because I think it's because you get to see a character over, say, 5 or 6 different films. Whereas when you just have her in one film, like Bounce, it's the only one I can think of for now. I remember watching that film and she was horrendous, because I just think that she just plays herself in all of her films. Whereas, at least with Shakespeare in Love, I didn't particularly enjoy it that much, but at least she was not necessarily Gwyneth Paltrow. She was actually a character. And I think in the Iron Man and Avengers, particularly, when she's in it, she is playing a character. She seems really overly happy and smiley and pleasant, and the rest of the time she's kind of, I don't know, she's kind of got this kind of little, the way she plays a character, she kind of has this little personality quirk for me that I don't like, because she just comes across as miserable or ungrateful or naggy. Whereas in the Iron Man one, she's actually having fun. She's the one that's fun. She's the one that's kind of clever. She has her own little fun little quirks, and that just, because that's so different to what I'm used to seeing Gwyneth Paltrow do, maybe that's why I like it. Maybe it's refreshing. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm in a complete disagreement. I can't stand her in those movies. I don't know. You're not a massive fan of those movies in general, though, either. So
no, not really. No. But I mean, I just, for whatever reason, this is literally the only movie that I really thought she was good in, and she's not in it very much, and maybe that's why. I don't know. but what I was getting is, like, I feel like her character is kind of the same thing as what Chris Carter did with Millennium with Frank and Catherine's Yellow House.
Yes.
Like the Yellow House was kind of like the same thing as sort of
the safe place.
Yeah,
like
her
the
role. Yeah. As to where, like, it's not really their apartment in Se7en, it's really her. And in Millennium, it's more of like the house, not necessarily Frank's wife, because they have conflicts, it's the house itself. So I don't know. There's a lot of juxtapositions between the two, and I just think it was a good boundary pushing TV show in the same vein as Seven. However, back to this movie. This film was written by Andrew Kevin Walker in 1986. So that was almost 10 years before this film came out.
Wow. So we've still got hope for Room 19.
Yeah. Right. And he wrote it because he moved from a suburb into a big city. And Carly, I don't know if you remember from a previous episode talking about suburbs and what those are, but those are just smaller communities outside of big cities that are more like, keeping up the Joneses, manicured lawns and pretty painted houses, that kind of thing, not big city buildings and stuff like that. So he had a bit of a culture shock moving from one of those little quaint, suburbs into a big city where crime is rampant and it's dirty and tall buildings blocking the sun, all that kind of stuff. And that gave him the material to come up with Seven. And he talked about, which I thought was very interesting, he talked about walking down the street and noticing all of these, and I'm sure this is a little dramatized, but noticing all these different sins taking place just out in the open, just walking down the street, and like contemplating the idea of like a script based on these sins that he's seeing. And that's where the seed of, Seven came from.
That's quite interesting for Gwyneth Paltrow's character as well, because that's kind of like him.
Yeah, exactly. It's true. Yeah, absolutely. And so he ends up, he hasn't written a script, or at least nothing commercial up to this point. And so he writes this and it gets optioned by a studio. And I actually, I can't remember the name of it, but I think it was like an Italian studio or something. Oh, Penta Films, I think it was called. They optioned it, but they didn't like the ending. It was too bleak. So they requested that he does rewrites, and he didn't want to, but he did something like 13 different endings or rewrites on the ending to make it more of a commercial and less bleak head in the box thing. Because I guess they wanted the Gwyneth Paltrow character to live, and they just wanted more of a Hollywood ending, I guess. But he didn't like it. He didn't want to do it. Later, he had discussed that he felt like he was ruining the film, which I agree, that would have been ruining it. And eventually, before the film gets made, Penta goes out of business. They file bankruptcy or whatnot, start having financial problems, and they end up selling the script over to New Line Cinema. So Seven, after that point, just happens very quickly. It gets sold to New Line in 94, and they almost immediately attach a strange pick, in my opinion, Jeremiah Chechik, who did National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, which is a great film.
Yeah, but different tone.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, he did do Diabolique, but that wasn't like the greatest film. So I'm not really certain. It wasn't terrible, but it was, it's a remake, and it wasn't fantastic. It certainly didn't shine like his work in comedy. So I really thought it was like a strange, person even, but maybe like he was looking for more serious content. I really don't know. However, that didn't go very far. And David Fincher, who now is, a famous director, had just come off of shooting Alien 3, and he had such a terrible time on Alien 3 with the producers constantly interfering and changing the script and, whatever it might be, basically beating up, a new filmmaker, that he vowed he was never going to direct another film after that. And his agent ends up, there's a little unsure, how it actually happens, whether it was really an accident or what it was, but his agent ends up, I guess, getting this script to him and pushing him to read it. And I guess the studio, New Line, was unhappy because he ended up sending him the original version with the, the ending that we know of today, and not the Hollywood ending version, which they wanted to produce. And Fincher ended up really loving it. And when he, basically went to the studio and was like, hey, I'll do this. They're like, oh, well, that's not the right ending. And he's like, well, I'm only going to do it if this is the ending. And so what happens is they don't agree to that. And Fincher goes to, I guess, so it's not actually New Line that doesn't necessarily want to do it. It's all the executives that are attached to this particular script don't want to do it. They want it to be this Hollywood ending. So he goes to Michael DeLuca at New Line, and they hatch this like sort of little covert plan to get the film up and running in a matter of weeks with the original ending and shoot it before they even know what's going on.
Clever.
Right. So I mean, that's what they do. That's what happens. But one of the executives, I guess, figured it out, and they tried to interfere and tried to lighten the tone of the film and change the ending. But by that time, they had all these big stars on it. Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman. Everybody was already attached to it. And Pitt in particularly was looking to do this project because he was trying to shed the pretty boy leading man thing. And he had just come off of, what was it called? Legends of the Fall, I think it was. And he was super unhappy because I guess they had changed the end of the film. I might have seen it when it first came out, but I don't remember this movie at all. But I guess the original ending of the film didn't test well with audiences. So the studio changed it and really made him angry. And so he was very adamant about this project and the ending being what it was, the head in the box stuff.
You can't blame him because that happens so many times.
Right.
There's so many films where you think, God, that ending was shit, and you find out that the ending was changed from something else, and the actors are even pissed off about it. You think, yep, I can completely understand that. Yeah,
absolutely. It's like I get the whole, executive position. I mean, they're there to make money. It's not really necessarily a creative standpoint. It's about, well, are we going to alienate audiences? Are they going to actually come see it when they find out it's so dark and heavy? That kind of thing, especially in that time of the world. I think that, they were, I don't think they were necessarily making a bad decision in terms of finances. However, in terms of the actual film and the quality of the film, I think that would have been a huge, huge mistake. And Pitt saw that, and he pushed and basically, said he wouldn't do the movie unless it was the original ending, just like, Fincher and basically everybody else involved. So they ended up allowing it. So it ended up getting made the way Fincher wanted to, which is amazing. I came across a lot of strange casting choices too before I guess Pitt was even on board and Freeman. I guess Sylvester Stallone was attached to play Mills, and so was Denzel Washington.
Oh, Denzel Washington would have been a good shout.
It would have been interesting, yeah. Definitely would have.
Not taking anything away from the cast that they have, but yeah, Denzel Washington's always solid. So
yeah, and I'm not. I don't really care for Brad Pitt. Like there's a few films that I really like him in, but up to this point, like the only thing I really cared about that he was in was Cool World.
He was pretty good in 12 Monkeys.
Well, 12 Monkeys hadn't happened yet. He actually shot 12 Monkeys after this.
He's quite good in that.
And I that's one of the films I loved him in. Se7en, 12 Monkeys, and then nothing for a really long time until Bullet Train. I really liked Bullet Train a lot.
Is that what
it was called?
I liked him in The Oceans, actually. I think that he fit really well, even though he's probably just playing himself. He fit really well in the style of it, and he was fantastic in Fight Club.
Oh, Fight Club. I forgot about Fight Club.
Yeah.
Fight Club's the other one. Yeah. He really was, Yeah.
He rivaled Edward Norton, and in my head, like, not many people nowadays rival Edward Norton, and I would say that them two are on a fucking par.
Yeah, I think the thing is particularly with Fight Club, I think Edward Norton is definitely the better actor, but I think his Brad Pitt's character in Fight Club was so over the top and outlandish, and he definitely has that sort of like can play the crazy aspect really well, as evident in like 12 Monkeys. That I think that it definitely shines. I would never say he's better or compares to Norton, because I think he's a really great actor. But
I did read something years ago that they were on about swapping the two actors. So potentially
wow.
Edward Norton would have played Tyler, and
I
Brad
couldn't
Pitt
imagine
would have
that.
been narrator. And I think Edward Norton would still, I think he would have brought a very different energy to it, but I think it would still have worked on that part. I'm not 100% about the narrator, whether Brad Pitt could have shuffled into that as well. But hey, maybe I will have been surprised.
I don't know. That sounds like a terrible idea.
I wouldn't have said he would be bad, but I just don't think it would have been his equal. Maybe.
Well, I can just see, I can see the aspects of those two roles, and like Brad Pitt's character is supposed to be that side that you want to be, or that like sort of hidden like version of, you. And I can't see swapping those, because, it's like Brad Pitt plays that and is that sort of, great looking, gets the women, doesn't care about anything, can like talk his way out of everything. You know what I mean? Like he has that confidence, and like, I'm sure Norton could play that, but I just don't like, I'm not sure visually that works either.
Yeah. Maybe not as naturally and effortless.
Yeah.
There would have been a lot more that probably went into, because they would have had to have really sort of like planed down Brad Pitt and really sort of like bumped up Ed Norton.
Right.
So
now, Norton did kind of do that in American History X, which I thought was brilliant.
Yes.
So it's like, and then I look at that and I'm like, well, that could have, but maybe not with Brad Pitt playing Norton's role in Fight Club. Maybe that would have had to have been somebody. I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah.
That would have been very interesting.
It reminded me a little bit of, did you see the onion thing? The glass onion.
Oh yeah. I loved it.
That reminded me of what the kind of roles that like Edward Norton used to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like the Tyler kind of character was a little bit in that. Like when he starts throwing his toys out the pram at the end.
Oh, sure.
Tyler.
Right. Yeah. No, you're not wrong with that. Yeah, man. I don't know why he needs to play in some more stuff. I guess he doesn't have to, but yeah. I did like Glass Onion quite a bit. It's hard to say this, but it's not as good as the first Knives Out, but it's not supposed to compare to it either, but whatever. It was still a fun movie. I liked it a lot. But yeah, so Sylvester Stallone, Denzel Washington, there's a bunch of other actors too, like for Somerset, they tried to get Robert Duvall, Gene Hackman, Al Pacino, all these names. Like Gene Hackman, I'm thinking about that. I'm like, damn, that would have been great.
Yeah, that's just what flashed in my head as soon as you said Gene Hackman. Yeah. He was the one I was most excited about.
Yeah, and I can't say that Robert Duvall would have been bad. I think Pacino is too of a character actor. Wouldn't want to see that. But Duvall, I think, would have been pretty good. But Hackman, I think that would have been like, now movie might have won an Oscar. Not that there was anything wrong with Morgan Freeman, but Gene Hackman had been around a lot longer at that time, so that might have given it a bigger kick, even though Freeman, was pretty hot after Shawshank Redemption and all that.
However, Al Pacino was really good in Insomnia.
He was, yeah. That was,
and that's kind of a similar kind of character.
True. That was Mark Romanek, though, right? I think that did that. Which there is a kind of a connection to this movie with that. But yeah, I mean, maybe, I don't know. I would hate to have.
Maybe not at that time. Maybe he needed sort of like 20 years to get his Insomnia kind of character. Maybe he was a little bit too large in life at that time. A bit like Jack Nicholson.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe. Because Jack Nicholson did end up doing some really cool character sort of roles, like character study kind of roles, which was like The Pledge, or there's a few other films like that. Maybe that could have worked. I would have hated to have him get cast and then hear him say hoo-ha, all the time. I would have broken the fucking movie. But and then another fun one was Ned. I don't know if you know who this is, but Ned Beatty.
No.
He's a character actor that's been around since probably like the early 80s or so. Maybe even before that. I think he actually was in the if I remember right, he's in Indiana Jones Raiders of the Lost Ark in the beginning. I think he's one of the guys that propositions him to find the Ark or something like that. Anyway, he's a character actor who's been around for a long time. And they were going to cast him to play John Doe because they thought he resembled the sketch of the Zodiac Killer. I don't see it personally, but that's what Fincher and the rest of them thought. But Ned Beatty, I think, is a pretty good actor. I think he could have pulled it off. But Kevin Spacey at the time, I think, was fantastic in this movie. Coming out of movies like Usual Suspects. Yeah. I just thought he was really perfect for playing this mild-mannered, intelligent, reserved serial killer. He didn't play the crazy in a different level, which I think
he played the crazy normal, which is scarier.
Yeah. It was more about conviction. This is what I believe in, and this is why it has to happen. You know what I mean? Instead of just, it was just, and I think a lot of serial killer films have really taken that, and it's become a very huge trope within those sorts of crime dramas now. But I do got to give him a lot of credit because they wanted to use his name on the marketing material, like the poster, the beginning credits of the movie and all that. And Spacey basically was like, if you want me in the movie, you can't use my name for the marketing materials, not because of any sort of ego thing, or he was worried about the film or anything. It was because he knew that if people saw his name in the marketing materials and in the opening credits, and he doesn't show up to the third act of the movie, like you don't see his face, but he's in the movie, then it's a dead giveaway that he's the killer. And then what's the point? Right. So he had the forethought to think that, and he's the whole reason why he's not in any of the marketing material and not even in the opening credits, which is, I got to commend him for that, because I think there's not a lot of actors that would let that happen. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's true. Because to be fair, the first time I watched Seven, I didn't know Kevin Spacey was in it.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah.
No, I had no idea. It was just one that I picked up when me and my mum used to go to Blockbuster Videos, and they used to sell off the accidental videos for like a couple of quid. Because we couldn't afford to get the full price one. So once a month, me and my mum would go and we'd just rifle through everything. And it was they do an offer, I don't know what it was, say 5 for 10 or something like that to get rid of the last of the crap. And Seven was one that my mum picked up, and we used to we only used to get ones that we would both watch. So I'd say pick 3, she'd pick 3, and then we just have a random for the rest of whatever the offer was. Cool. And one of the ones she picked was Seven because it was a horror film. It was, the casing in the poster made it look like a horror film.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she picked that up because she likes Morgan Freeman.
Yeah.
So she picked that up, and then we'd watch them over say 2-3 weeks, and then we'd go and get some more.
Yeah.
So I had absolutely no idea that Kevin Spacey was in it until I was watching it.
Right. Yeah. Well, you were probably too young to even go see it at the theater either. So that was
no, God, no. Yeah, it was this, to be fair, this was a couple of years after it was even out at the theater.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah. See, 94 or 95, that was I was going to the theater a lot. I'm in high school, or just starting high school, I guess. And just I finally had a little bit of freedom. I could go out and do stuff. And so movies The Crow and The Matrix, and well, I guess Matrix is a little later, but I was that's where my theater sort of personal on my own kind of delving into it, not being dropped off at a theater to be gotten rid of because I'm a kid and my parents don't want to watch me today, but because that was my childhood, getting dropped off at a theater and getting bought a ticket for a movie. I had no idea what it was. Not a kid's movie, but they get rid of me for, a couple hours, and that was that. So, but then later on, I get to actually pick the movies that I'm wanting to watch, man, Brain Scan and, The Crow and, Se7en. It was great. So and at that time I didn't know who Kevin Spacey was. I hadn't seen, Unusual Suspects or any of that, Usual Suspects, whatever, or anything that he'd been in. I didn't really know who it was. I knew who Morgan Freeman was, I think because of Robin Hood.
Yes.
And, yeah. but like just like I recognized him, but I don't think I had seen Shawshank at that point. But yeah, so I thought it was really, the reveal that it was Kevin Spacey to me didn't matter when I saw it in the theater,
Yeah,
but,
same with me watching it. I was just like, because I'd watched a couple of films with Kevin Spacey in beforehand, but he wasn't like on my absolute list of because I used to buy stuff based on who was in it. I was like, oh, Keanu Reeves film, I'll have that. So it wasn't till after Seven that if I saw a Kevin Spacey film, I would just buy it just because Kevin Spacey was in it.
Right. Yeah. No,
yeah. So
great.
same with me. I didn't bat an eyelid.
Yeah.
When he was sat there in the prison cell, like with he dunking his little fucking tea,
right,
with no fingers or whatever.
And I think that's awesome because it's like watching it, like it didn't need to be a known actor necessarily, but he as an actor is really great in the role. So it's great that it is him. And in fact, I found out that they, because they couldn't, I guess, find the proper actor for it, or people kept turning it down because they thought that basically the movie was evil. Like I've read several responses where people were like, I can't do that. This movie is pure evil kind of thing. I think Ned Beatty said that, so he didn't play the character. There was a couple of people. Oh, Michael Stipe was also approached for the role, the lead singer for REM.
Oh, okay.
But I guess it conflicted with a tour he was doing. Val Kilmer rejected it. So there was a lot going on in terms of casting there, but yeah, I just think he was a great pick. And also Spacey ended up, they I guess Fincher had wanted him, but Spacey's price was too high. The studios didn't want to pay it. And then I guess Brad Pitt got involved because I guess he knew him and I guess negotiated. And then that's where Spacey ended up saying, okay, fine, I'll do it, but you can't put my name in until, because I don't want to ruin it.
I wonder if Brad Pitt did a little thing that sometimes, like people like Keanu Reeves do, where they go, well, I want this person, you want this person. The thing that's in the way is money. I don't care about money. So I'll go to them and basically say, how much of my salary do you want to do the film? And we'll just do that.
It might be. I'm
Maybe
not,
he did a thing like that.
It's possible. I don't think Pitt probably was a big enough star at that point, or was making enough money at that point. But possibly, it might have just been he just knew him and they were able to work it out. Who the hell knows? But I think it's awesome that they did it, that it came out and worked. Cause apparently Spacey got a call on like a Friday and then it took some battling, I guess, to get his name, to, force them to not put his name on the marketing material. And then I guess 2 days later, by Monday, he was in LA shooting it. Because they had been using an unknown actor, but I guess they decided that the person just wasn't what they wanted, which is strange because, most of the early stuff in the movie, you don't even really see him. So either it was really bad or they just really wanted Spacey, which is fine either way.
Yeah, maybe just going as they were going along, they just thought, nah, we need to give this an edge. This character's got an edge and it's just not here. You never know. You know how things change and develop when you're in front of somebody. Yeah.
Sure, yeah. And that whole scenario reminded me of Back to the Future with Kevin, what's his name? Stoltz?
Oh, yeah. Eric
Stoltz playing Marty and then it just not working, which, I like Eric Stoltz, but yeah, when you see some of that stuff, it's like, wow, this would have been a completely different movie. This probably wouldn't have been a hit. Like Michael J. Fox really made that, and I think that's kind of the same thing with Spacey's character here. He just played it in such a great way. But anyway, lots of casting things going on in this movie. And it's interesting too, because the movie got sort of middle of the road test scores from audiences. And so they started pressing again to change the ending. Of course, they didn't. And a bunch of, I guess, footage ended up screening for some sort of like Hollywood thing, I guess, where they screen a bunch of footage from upcoming movies or something. I'm not really sure what it was. And it got a lot of traction and a lot of buzz because of the, just the quality of the filming. The studio was also against the dark lighting and tone of it all. But after that, I guess it kind of shut him up on everything. And, Fincher basically got his way for the whole thing. It went on to do very well at the box office for this type of film and for, movies grossing at that time. I think Freddy's Dead, I think I read, was one of the highest grossing openings for September, which was like several years earlier, like 90 or 91, something like that. And Se7en, became the next September highest grossing film. It earned $14 million across about 2,500 theaters. And it made it the number one film of the weekend. Then it went on for the next, I think, five weekends at number one. And it only fell to number three, I guess, when Get Shorty and Now and Then came out. Two very different films, but those two, I guess, knocked it down to number three. And Now and Then I actually like quite a bit. But at the end of its theatrical run and worldwide gross came to be $327 million, which was pretty substantial for that kind of a film, a thriller film, in the early 90s, mid 90s. It did so well in theatrical and in media. However, the critics panned it quite a bit. And even a lot of film goers panned it for being so dark and bleak. It was sort of looked at as like just too dark, too much, negativity in the film, or whatever you want to say. Evil, as a lot of the actors, portrayed it. However, it's gone on to become like the whole stance on the film has completely done a 180, and it's highly regarded as one of the best thrillers. I think it probably stands next to Silence of the Lambs, with that sort of genre of film. And it's critically acclaimed now by almost all critics. It's regularly on top 100 lists and top 10 lists. And so it's done very well in home, media and things like that. And it had done so well leading up to the 2000s that New Line had proposed a sequel. And stupidly enough, they wanted to call it 8.
Oh, for God's sake.
Right. Which, no idea what that would even have anything to do with, but...
What's that, the 7 Deadly Sins plus 1?
Yeah, I have no idea. But, so I guess they had picked up a script called Solace, which was about a serial killer that had psychic abilities, and they developed this script into a 7 sequel, where Somerset all of a sudden started developing psychic abilities. So then it was a psychic detective chasing a psychic serial killer. And it just sounds really terrible, especially for being a sequel to 7, and just a detective just randomly somehow developing psychic abilities. Just really strange. And it's nowhere grounded, and it just did not make sense.
No, it's not even like he was a spiritual character in the first one where because of the tragedy of what happened, like, this has happened. There was no, he was very analytical. He was retiring. Like, there's not even an ounce of that in his character.
Mm-mm. No, in no way, shape, or form did this movie lend itself at all to anything psychic, And Fincher even said when they approached him about it, he said he would rather have cigarettes put out in his eyes than have anything to do with that film.
Tell it how it is, Petal. Tell it how it is.
Right? And it's funny because it sort of echoes what happened after Alien 3. He basically said something about, I'd rather die of cancer than direct another film after his experience with that. But of course.
Oh, heck.
Yeah, his next film ends up being 7, which is amazing, right? Solace, anyway, gets made about 10 years later. And it starred Anthony Hopkins and who was the other guy? I can't think of his name right now. Anyway, it wasn't a great film. It was a critical and commercial failure, which a lot of people thought, well, the acting was good and the cast carries it in a way, but it's just not a good film. And I remember watching it and thinking sort of the same thing. Like I thought it was interesting. But I thought it was, if I remember right, I think I just thought it was really slow, and just didn't work as a whole. But just the whole psychic side of it, I don't think would have worked at all as a Se7en sequel. That would have been like, I don't know. That would have just been such a poor decision. But I don't know. Have you ever seen Solace?
Oh, yes. I'm just researching it now. And I didn't recognize it at first, but then I saw the other dude, the guy with the bat out of The Walking Dead or something. What's his name? Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Oh, Jeffrey Dean Morgan's in it. Yeah.
Yeah, and Colin Farrell's in it as well.
Colin Farrell, that's what I was trying to think of,
Yeah, it was.
I love Jeffrey Dean Morgan. I think he's great. And I mean, before Walking Dead, like Walking Dead almost ruined him as an actor for me.
No, that film was slow. Like it was a bit like that Eric Bana film that was really interesting, which was kind of similar, where he started getting like psychic weird stuff for the devil, and then he hooked up with a priest, and then they kind of like vanquished an evil demon or something. It was really good, but it was just so slow. And then when it ended, you didn't really feel like anything had happened.
Right. Yeah. I mean, whatever. Studios make some weird choices. It's sometimes when you get a film like that gets greenlit and made, it's like, I feel like there's so many better films they could have went with or put money behind or had these actors attached to. But the thing is,
you don't know what they were putting the money into to begin with. It could have been fantastic, and then too many fingers in the pie.
It's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's tough. And I think we even experience that just working together. Sometimes it's like, you bring an idea to the table and then Jason gets his fingers in it and you're like, what the fuck?
Take your fingers out of that.
Right? That is not what I wrote.
And then I got fingers and toes in there where it doesn't make sense. And you're like, what? Can't even film this.
Right. Well, let's ask Rodney and Dennis what they think.
And then we're both fired and replaced by AIs.
Right. All right, Carly, I guess it's time to rate this movie Se7en.
You go first, because I've gone first the last couple of times.
All right. No worries. I can do that. So Se7en doesn't get a 7 from me. I've loved this movie since the very beginning. The only thing that was stopping me from even wanting to see it, quite honestly, was the fact that Brad Pitt was in it. Like I just didn't care for him at the time. I hadn't seen anything that I really liked. He was only doing like, I don't know, like date movie type stuff. And I mean, as a teenager, that wasn't really anything that I was interested in seeing. So I was just like, Brad Pitt, blah. But the tonality of the trailer and everything when it came out, just like, I was like, wow, this is something I'd be totally into. I hate he's fucking in it, but that's right. I'll go check it out. And I thought the movie was like scary on another level, like a dread. It was just drenched in dread and a sort of ethereal fear of the world around you kind of thing. Like this is something that, happens and, can happen, and it was scary on that level. It wasn't jump scares. It wasn't, horror in terms of like, Freddy and Jason and all that sort of campy stuff. It was real fear, like Silence of the Lambs, but with such a deep and meaningful motivation behind it and really fantastic acting that, I mean, it was just, it's been one of my not favorite films, but it's been up there. I would say probably in my top 10 list since I've seen it. I just think it's just a great film and everybody should check it out. Even if they're not into the dark kind of stuff, it's just a very, very well made, great looking, great shot, great acted film, with a great twist ending that gets you if you don't know what it is. So this film definitely gets a 10 from me.
Oh, nice.
Top that.
Well,
I give it 11.
I'm going to give it 12. No, I'm going to give it 10 as well. Yeah, because I
because you don't want to get fired. That's why.
No, right? Do you know what? You'll probably laugh at me, but there isn't another film that I can think of. I don't think anything surpassed the feeling that I had when I was watching this for the first time, and I realised what was in the box without the box being opened. Yeah. And I've never, ever in my life, even in TV, all the films that I've watched, anything, I've never had that moment of sheer dread that's come up from like my toes all the way up to the top of my body and gone, oh my God, her head's in the box.
Yeah.
And then never had it confirmed properly. Yep. And still knowing that her head's in the box. I'm feeling absolutely disgusted because of that. I've never felt a feeling wash over me like that I had in this film. And I don't think I ever will again.
And it's amazing that they didn't need to show it.
Yeah.
You know, it evokes that emotion.
Scarier.
Yeah.
I think that's what's scarier, the reactions. It's like watching reality TV, but real TV with real people. It's like as if you're in that moment and you're like, you know, when you're watching a horror film, you're like, don't go up the stairs. It's like, oh my God, don't open the box, for fuck's sake. There's a head in there and it's your wife. I can't deal with it. If he opens the box, I'm going to have a heart attack. I hope he doesn't open the fucking box. And it's like almost like you know what's in the box before they know what's in the box.
Yeah.
But because Morgan Freeman has figured out what's in the box, it's his reaction.
Yeah.
That kind of like, oh God, I'm getting like tingles just describing it now.
Yeah.
And then, to be fair, for Brad Pitt, to give him his due, in that scene, he deserves exactly to be where he is in Hollywood and doing the fucking films that he's done because, oh my God, the pair of them.
Yeah.
And then you've just got Smirky Spacey sat there with his little smirk, with no fingertips, just dead pleased with himself because he knows what's going to happen. Oh my God, I genuinely don't, I might be wrong, but I genuinely don't think that I will ever see another film in my lifetime that gives me that feeling.
No, I agree. Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah.
You know, so you gave it a 10. That's
yeah.
Hey,
yeah.
Doesn't get better than that. I did want to bring up real quick because I missed talking about this, but also at the time of this film coming out, industrial music was kind of taking off, and I thought it was such a great pairing, the soundtrack that went along with, not necessarily the score music is great too, but they also included a lot of great needle drop kind of radio songs that were popular at the time, but just fit so well into the environment of this movie, like the grittiness and the harshness of it all. Just from the very opening credit sequence with the Nine Inch Nails Closer remix, with the visuals of all that just works so perfectly with this film. And then you have Gravity Kills Guilty, and you got David Bowie branching out with Heart's Filthy Lesson with the end credits, and the way they did the cool credits moving backwards in the movie. I really think that they found this great balance with the music and the score music in this film.
I think, though, that's a trend that maybe David Fincher took forward as well, because if you notice with some of his films, particularly, I think, The Game and Fight Club as well, to be fair, he does that quite well. He kind of manages to mesh and mix it in so it's natural. It's not like a tension building soundtrack.
Right.
It's more like it's just like a realistic realism soundtrack.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. Because even especially like with The Game, it's one of those things where it's like that's such a, like when I look at The Game, it's such a sophisticated feeling film. Like that, it's so beautifully shot, and glossy.
Yeah.
That the music really helps it move along quite a bit. Yeah, I totally agree with you on that.
Because I did see some people saying that The Game was too pretty. It was too much of a pretty film to be taken seriously, and I thought, no, that's part of the intricacy of it.
Yeah, I mean, when you take in the character that Michael,
it's not falling
Douglas
down.
was,
we're not watching a madman go round. Like, falling down is fair enough. Falling down is falling down. It's a madman that's just gone to work. That every man that's having a fucking bad day. The game is completely different. It's a bit more, it's a kind of an everyman, but at the same time, it's really not.
No. I think the look of the film directly parallels his character in that.
Yeah.
And I think
his environment.
Works,
and everything that he's exposed to day to day. Yeah.
Yep. Great point. Maybe we need to watch the game too.
Oh, I do like that.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Great. I'm glad we got a chance to watch this film for the podcast. It is very noirish. It might not be considered a neo-noir. I would.
Yeah, that irritates me. Why is it not?
I think there's
as a neo-noir.
Yeah, I think it's just because neo-noirs typically just don't do well at the box office, so they kind of stay away from that. Just like there was a time where certain films, I guess it started with Silence of the Lambs, where they didn't want to call it a horror film. I mean, it's definitely a horror film, but that's where the term, I think, they started using thriller or something along those lines for a new genre.
Crime thriller is kind of the shoe-in that they use. Mm-hmm. It's a crime thriller. Well, it's not a crime thriller, is it really?
Nah, it's a fucking horror movie.
A crime thriller is like Donnie Brasco.
Right, exactly.
Yeah? That's not noir. That's
right.
A crime thriller.
Yeah.
Like The Untouchables is a crime thriller. It's
there you
not
go,
noir.
Right.
This is a noir.
Yeah, I mean, there's cops in it, and there's somebody committing crimes, but that's not what it is.
It's not. No, it's really. I think it's really hard to explain sometimes with people if they don't watch noir, and they don't kind of get confused by the trappings and classifications of things, and it's more kind of like just because the character is a detective doesn't make it a crime genre. It just happens to be that the character is a detective in this noir setting.
Right. I hear you.
Maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. Like, I think it's, I think that's what it is, yeah. I hope you guys enjoy your 7 Deadly Sin Sour and checking out 7. Made by Dennis. And you check out 7, hopefully again or for the first time. Hopefully we didn't ruin the movie for you if you don't know anything about it. But I'm pretty sure everybody does at this point. Unless you youngsters haven't seen it yet. But we really do hope you enjoy the film and your drink. And we will see you next time.
Bye-bye.
He's looking at you, kid.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Speakeasy Noircast. Make sure to visit our website, resurrectionfilms.net, where you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Stitcher, or any of your favorite podcast apps so you'll never miss a show. While you're at it, if you found value in the show, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes, or if you'd simply tell a friend about the show, that would help us out too. If you like the show, you might want to check out our book, The Dark Side of Acting Up and The Dark Side of Acting Up Volume 2, now available on Amazon. Or you can check out one of our films, also available on Amazon Prime. Be sure to tune in next week for another episode of the Speakeasy Noircast.